See, all we did yesterday, Moan, was say the one guy you can't let go is the guy with the grilling show.
That's all we did, DK.
Kiss of death. It's our fault.
And you know what? I told you I always had my my cut day stuff, man. It was always a norm for me. Like, I never wanted to be around teammates. I never wanted to see them. Like, those times that I was around them, those guys got cut. I guess now a new rule is don't talk about guys that may be fringe guys.
No, Zack Gentry is not with the Steelers anymore. He's been released, and it's totally our fault. And why don't we just go ahead and ring a bell?
You ready, man?
In his honor. Let's do that.
Can we do 2 bells in his honor today? I'll give you a premature one.
We can do one. We can do 81.
You ready? Here's 2.
Makes you happy.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, and this is the Ramon Foster Show, starring Ramon Foster in Hendersonville, Tennessee over there. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports in downtown Pittsburgh. And, Moan, you were out doing yard work, and you said that happens on cut down day. You're going to have to run me through that. I'd never heard you say that before.
DK, is always fascinating with me on cut day, man. I really do have a rule. On cut day, I try to stay busy. I try to stay out of the way and honestly wait for that final roster to drop, which still hadn't dropped it as we start this show, man. Omar, rule breaker, bender is what we'll call him, man. But this day is, of course, we will laugh and have a good time on this podcast, but it is also, DK, it's a rough day for some guys, man. I was around dudes my rookie year, and they got cut. My second year, I saw guys in the mall, dapped them up. Was like, man, you talked to the team yet? Are you safe? You know, like, those were the questions I was asking, DK. And another guy got cut. I went to Niagara Falls with a friend on the team, DK, and I think I've told you this before. He got a call with me while in Niagara, in Canada, okay, and he got cut. And I said this. I said, you know what? And then it was another situation. I had somebody over my house thinking they were safe, and they got cut, DK. So I said, you know what? When it comes down to cut day, the final 53, don't call me, don't talk to me. I don't want to be around anybody. I get busy on cut down day because it is business. I see somebody say it's business at the end of the day, DK. And I had no control over it. But the same way we feel about Zach, I felt like there was some type of control of what the situation could have had.
Yeah, see, Hanover Fist says it had to be dollars with Zach. It's absolutely not dollars. Steelers have plenty of room under the cap. In fact, they have a lot more now than they did just 2-3 days ago.
Yes.
Because the trade of help me out here yesterday.
Dotson. No, Kendrick Green?
No, Dotson. It was Dotson. The Dotson trade saved $2.5 million all by itself. Kendrick Green, of course, was traded today for a 6th rounder, and somebody gave up something for Kendrick Green. And I don't mean to be a jerk about that. I'm just saying that's not something that I envisioned happening. Whereas nobody gave up anything to get Gentry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So that sometimes is a reflection on the player. That sometimes, actually more often than not, is a reflection on the needs of the market.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If there are needs for offensive linemen out there, there are.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. There might not be anywhere near as many needs at tight end. And you know what, Moan?
Yeah.
Blake's just finding this out. Yeah. Kendrick Green was traded for a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
That was also today. Gentry was not. Gentry was just flat out released. Frank says too many cooks in the kitchen. Sorry, Zach. Yeah. Okay. But as we talked about yesterday, tell me which of Darnell Washington or Connor Hayward just slots in if you don't have Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah. The answer I have for him is this, man, from Frank. And Frank, you're not wrong. That can be perceived to being true too, at least on the market. I think most people knew as far as the business and the needs go, right, DK? Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh had a stud rookie that most people think can be a stud. They have a potential budding star in Pat Frymouth, and they also have Connor Hayward, who's a utility knife as far as his capability on the field. The issue that you run into with Zack Gentry is the Steelers have historically kept usually 3 tight ends. With that being said, no other team is going to trade for a guy that doesn't have a whole lot of yards and history as far as what he's done in his league. You understand Zach being a role player. Now, you say, well, so was Kevin Dotson and also Kendrick Green. But DK, what do we know to be true these days? If you have an abundance of what's supposed to be quality OL, people will come after them.
Oh, they're not waiting on it. Yeah.
And not to toot our own horn as far as Pittsburgh go, but what was our conversation? Was it late last week or a day or so ago, DK? We said what? When you go through Pittsburgh, there is a reputation that if you get one of those Pittsburgh Steelers guys, for the most part, they will return the investment to you. There's usually a return of investment after you go for a Pittsburgh Steelers trade, especially when they're drafted or grown up in the Pittsburgh system.
Swan says, who did Gentry's cut make room for? It's not that simple. It made room for somebody who's needed at some other position. I don't think it's a matter of another tight end beating him out. I know there are still others that are in the fold, but, Gentry gets a chance to hook up somewhere else. Hopefully he does. He's not clearing waivers. Anybody who's saying you're going to get him on a practice squad, that ain't happening.
No, absolutely not. They just released the roster too, DK.
Oh, they did? Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have the list. They just have the cuts as it stands right now.
All right, final cuts of the Steelers to trim the roster to 53 from what I see. Oh, yeah, here. This is from the Steelers themselves, so there's no rumors or anything. The final cuts released were, let me make this a little bit bigger. Cornerbacks. Yikes. I'm not doing a good job of making that big enough.
No.
Let me try another version.
You said you were getting new glasses, DK.
Yeah, their prescription. They're coming in a couple of weeks. They're not here yet.
Yeah.
Running backs, Greg Bell and Xavier Valady. Wide receivers, Jordan Byrd, Des Kirkpatrick. Tight end, Zack Gentry and Rodney Williams, which was just addressing exactly what I was about to bring up, was that Zach wasn't cut so that another tight end could stay, because that would have been Williams staying.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They are just going to go with their 2 tight ends plus Connor Hayward. Okay. Ryan McCollum, listed as an offensive lineman, also plays center. Defensive lineman, Braden Fehoko is probably a little bit of a surprise here. He was seen as somebody who was going to have a chance even to start.
Yeah.
In that middle spot, but that also tells you how well Keanu Benton did. Jonathan Marshall is another guy at that position who was cut. Inside linebacker, Nick Kwiatkowski is listed here, but I have a feeling you're going to see him find a way to stick around because A, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
B, he was banged up.
Yeah, and that matters some too, especially if the coaches like a guy like that.
Yes.
That plays into it.
Just to wrap up, there's 3 more names. Outside linebacker, edge rusher, David Perales and Quincy Roche. Fellas, you weren't going to make it in this room. Okay. There was just no space for you there. No more seats. No. And the defensive back who was cut was Chris Wilcox, which means, of course, that James Pierre was kept. Also kept were, see here. Oh, no, there's safeties. Safeties were cut. I'm missing here. Trenton Thompson and Trey Norwood. Remember, we did call that Trey Norwood was going to be the one who was cut so that they could keep Elijah Riley, who could slot back and forth. Okay,
yeah,
that is everybody. I got everybody there. There were 16 cuts and 1 trade. So there were 17. They were 17 over. 16 players cut. 1 traded. The one, of course, being Kendrick Green to somebody for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, Kendrick Green went to Houston for a 6th-round pick.
Texans, yeah.
You see what they
need everything.
They listed his trade as a center fullback is what I saw in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
I swear to you, His
That's
trade
just a
was
sense of humor.
No, it was sent out as a
So that's why they did
fullback.
this. That's why they went through that whole charade, was to raise his value.
There is a loophole, and I told you this. I think Baltimore is exercising this with Rashard. They changed his designation to a offensive lineman. You got to remember, he came in as a D lineman and then went to a fullback and made a Pro Bowl there. There's a rule that's being put in that if you have an extra guy up, you get like an extra spot. There's some rule. I'll get that for you soon, DK. But yes, that is a real thing.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I have now, everyone keeps asking about money here. It's not about Gentry's money. It just isn't. They have all kinds of cap space, and they don't really have anybody left to sign. I guess, Moan, the thing that I look at here is that James Pierre was kept. It doesn't mean he has to stay.
Right.
Just means he's on the 53 right now. But if you had to take these resources or a roster space or the cap space and put it into one position right now, where would you put it to fill out this 53? Yeah.
Corner?
Yeah.
Corner.
Yeah.
Strongly corner. And you know what? Depending, again, this is also what we're dealing with too, DK. And we got pretty much 2 weeks before the first game, September 10th. We got about 12 days before the first game. We get an entire week of transactions happening, potentially trades happening too. It wouldn't shock me if, and I don't even want to give this much credit or allude to something that may not be true, but it wouldn't shock me if Omar and the front office pretty much tried to trade those picks they just got for a corner as far as trying to get a guy this year. It wouldn't shock me if that happened. And all coaches tell guys this too. Just because you've made this initial 53-man roster does not mean that you're on the team right now. You're on the team come Saturday, September 9th at 3 o'clock. That's the official 53-man roster right there. That's when I, in my younger years, felt what you want to call safe. It's on that day before the game.
James says that Gentry being gone saves Miles Boykin. You said yesterday there was no way Boykin was gone.
I didn't, but his name came up as a candidate from both of us because we spoke about Allen Robinson.
Receivers and Allen Robinson, right? We
spoke about Allen Robinson being, and you said like, Ramon, I don't know, like but Miles Boykin and Allen Robinson seem like contingency plans if one doesn't work out. Now you get both, DK.
That makes sense.
It makes sense. I ain't mad at it. But I wonder what that last cut was as far as Gentry. And maybe Gentry just didn't have any room anyway. But I'd almost like to think it was between that trio of guys. Well, Miles Boykin and Zack Gentry may have been a deciding factor to me.
Crystal Privet has something to get out of her system here. She says, stop trading players to teams that we play this year. 1, it is weird. And 2, they know the playbook for this year. And now as I think about it, that's where they were traded. I mean, the Steelers should beat the Texans regardless, okay? Yeah. let's clear on that. And I'm trying to think here. Where did Dotson go? To the Rams?
Rams.
Yeah, I don't know that the Rams are going to be any powerhouse. And they have to pay the piper for about a decade to come.
I would say this, Crystal, as far as your number 2, they know the playbook, not true. It's just not. They will know more tendencies as far as what each player's strengths and weaknesses are. Somebody like Kendrick Green may know everything about Dan Moore, may know everything about James Daines, but guess what that does for the guy on the field? Really not a whole lot. You just understand he may know a thing or two about him. Like there were certain guys that went to other teams and said, hey, this is his weakness right here. Try this on him. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The fascination with the playbook, I can't give it that much credit because there's been times we'll tell guys, DK, the ball's coming right here and you can't stop it. That's the only pushback I have for you, Crystal.
Absolutely love this from Maurice, who says, I made a live show.
Yeah.
I'm part of the YouTube crowd, but I'm usually sleeping right now for the night shift. We finally got Maurice in here and live.
There we go.
I like that.
There we go, DK. Finally, that's a big day, man, for a lot
Brian
of
says, I like Gentry, but let's be real. Darnell Washington can do everything that he can. He wasn't this great pass catcher. If Pat Freiermuth does happen to go down, Connor Hayward and Darnell Washington could be used more as receivers. Brian, Darnell's got work to do. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not anywhere near as up on all of this as Gentry was. Couldn't be. Gentry's been around the longest. He was the most tenured guy in that room.
Yes, he was. And again, I've seen Coach make these moves before to where you just go off with the potential of a guy. You expect a guy like him to grow up. His role this year, and he'll have one main role as far as Darnell Washington goes, and that's being the extra offensive lineman. That's being a blocker. But he's also going to charge him to my expectations to be a better catcher. He's going to get a whole lot of scout team tight end stuff, right, DK? You're going to see him being worked as one of those cards guys designated to make plays.
He has to be. And again, they've been doing that for a while now, but it's just that it's gradual. It's not going to be in play for San Francisco, for Cleveland, for that opening month, going out to Las Vegas. It's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's the only one out of this where I kind of go, really? Yes. Leo points out, and this is true, that they kept 2 punters, which seems to really be a thing here. That just tells me that there's an issue as it relates to Presley Harvin, where maybe there's an injury thing and they don't want to let the guy go who's been in camp, even if it's just an iffy thing. I can tell you that Harvin has had a good camp. Harvin didn't lose his job. Harvin's not in danger of losing his job. Okay? It's just that if he has even some kind of nagging thing, if his hamstring's a little bit sore, you don't want an asset to just walk out the door.
Or is this, I was going to say, DK, is this a trade value thing that's going on right now?
For a punter?
We've seen 3 kickers get traded in this scramble to the final 53 right now. I'm just throwing it out there, but I've seen a lot of special team motion as it comes down to these teams right now.
But the strongest point to make today, excuse me, I think is the one that Randy Wagner is making. He says, who on this cut list is going to become a force on their new team? Nobody.
Who on this cut list is going to become a force on their new team?
Nobody.
Fehoko, mayebie? I don't know.
I mean, he was just here.
He was. I know.
And, he had an opportunity. Remember that what's getting lost in the cuts is who is kept.
Yeah.
Okay. And I reflexively say right away, well, Keanu Benton played well, but guess who else played well that nobody talked about except for the one time I mentioned him 2 months ago, Montravius Adams. Remember that?
You did. You did. You brought him up more recent than that too.
I did, but you know why? Because Coach Dunbar.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
You remember that?
You brought that up.
It was him.
You sure did. Yeah.
He said, when I said to him, well, how about this competition? There's no competition.
Yeah.
Montravius Adams is our number 1. And I kind of was humoring him, okay.
Say more.
Yes, yeah.
What do you say? Say more.
Guess what? They did.
I say that all the time when it comes down to the coaches speaking. That's why it's good when the assistants speak, because they always give more information than they're supposed to. He gave the answers as far as Montravius being on this roster, man. But it is a fascinating team. Like I said, I'm waiting for all things to come through as far as this 53-man roster. I'm excited for it. I think the team is as complete as it should be, DK. And I keep seeing the 2 punters come in. I don't know if the 2 punters is going to be through the weekend. We will see how this turns out.
Yeah, I honestly, there's another way of looking at it too, which is that you give guys a chance to hook on with somebody else. You let them go. You keep the punter on just in case there's some kind of issue. Oh my God, we're going berserk over the punters. Yeah, there's a chance that that Presley Harvin has something that's just making them get a little bit, a little bit antsy here. But we're just kind of guessing at this. No way of knowing.
Know who else made it? Nate Herbig.
Another one.
I didn't have a doubt that Nate was going to make it, but I questioned the availability. Yes. Yeah. The availability. We get answers right now in a lot of different ways, man. We get answers as far as who's the backup center. The backup tackle situations get handled. The D line is also one of those things. DK, that got handled this preseason, man. And I'm excited for what it's going to be. Pat Peterson leading the way with Joey Porter Jr. Like, it is a good place to be. Did Riley make it too, DK?
Yes.
There's another one. Elijah Riley made the 53.
Yes.
And Shandon, how do you say it? Shandon Sullivan.
Shandon Sullivan.
Shandon Sullivan. Both made it, DK. Good.
Yeah, they kept their best guys. They kept their best guys. That's what happened. They didn't worry as much about positions when that and Riley's flexibility in being able to do slot corner and safety was going to help him. So when we come back, we're going to go at I know this is live hot news. When we come back, we're going to do the only segment that matters. We do have some questions lined up.
And that's Hey Moan, good people.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Yeah, we've got stuff, a lot of reactions to the cuts, as you can imagine, especially the two punters. And Frank points out that Gentry took 3 years to become roster worthy, but that to me is you imagine how tough that cut is for Mike Tomlin, all the time he spent personally with Gentry.
And you know what I could also see happen too? Is if Zach doesn't get picked up off waivers, I see him coming back. I don't know if he has any practice squad left, but he may be a veteran addition after the initial 53 DK, maybe week 2 signing, somewhere in there if that's the case. I don't think his time in Pittsburgh is over just yet, but I do look at it and say it had to have been tough for Coach T. It's a business. I see everybody saying it. Yes, it is a business, but you understand you battle with these guys and create all kind of relationships with them, and they will still be there if they're pure. Those relationships are good, but some cuts are a little bit harder than others, for sure.
We have some new members coming in. They're showing up on the screen, Chris and Rick, and we're going to get to some of the stuff that, really matters here. I had a good question lined up, and I'm going to find it here. Here's one. Justin Works says, "Hey, Moan, how exactly does a player find out that they got cut? Like, how did Gentry, because Gentry didn't wait for this press release. He knew hours ago.
He probably got a text and a call from coach. There are certain players that get conversations.
Is that who does it? It's coach,
yes.
not the GM?
Okay. Coach and the GM, both. Everybody's in that room calling. You guys got to remember, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, I never got that call. When I finally had my conversation with Coach Tomlin, it was Coach T that gave me a call, and we discussed everything as far as when I retired in 2020. When guys get that call, it may be someone from the scouting department that has some seniority. Omar may call certain guys. Coach Tomlin may call certain guys. That's the way it goes. And from that, that news is given to those dudes before it's actually out officially. So Zach agent may have given that to some reporter that says Zack Gentry is expected to be cut. That's how that works.
Mark Cunningham says, "You're right, DK. I was focused on losing Braden Fajoko, and Montravius Adams can pressure the quarterback as well as stop the run." You remember that when Adams was brought in, he was the tourniquet that was applied after all the bleeding in Minneapolis. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, just like, here comes Montravius Adams. He's going to save the whole defensive line. But he was brought in because he could stop the run. They like him. He never gets mentioned by anybody around here, but he's a good guy to have. He's a consummate professional, and Keanu Benton really still needs to be your guy.
But if you're looking at what he did, and why he's on the team, it's that reason right there, DK. Until we figure out what's Larry Ogunjobi's method of playing, the amount of reps that he's going to get, DK, then guess what? Montravius Adams is a nice holdover until he figures that out too, man. And I'm actually on Steelers.com right now looking at the depth chart. It's almost like a crossword puzzle of just missing letters and names everywhere, man. They're cleaning it up right now.
Doing it live.
They're doing it live, DK. Yes, they are, man. But I'll say this too. Another fan favorite that did make it, DK, Mark Robinson.
Oh, in my face, because I brought him up yesterday as a potential cut, but I did say that I didn't want him to be because of his athleticism.
Yep, they're giving him time to grow. And I'll say this, though, when it comes down to Mark either better decide what he wants to do in his career. This is me just giving him professional advice if he's going to listen to our podcast. Figure out if you want to be a position player and start, or do you want to be a part of the band and go wreck shop on special teams? One of the two has to happen. If an opportunity comes in front of Mark Robinson this year, DK, and he has to start, he better light the world on fire, DK. He better, or go to the special teams. Guys in the third year that don't have a defined role, that don't play D-line or O-line or backup quarterback, you better find a role on special teams.
If you want to get Ramon Foster merchandise, Ramon Foster Show merchandise, we have that now. Go to dkps.net/Ramon Shop. Ramon Shop, just like it sounds. RAMONSHOP. dkps.net. It's still moving at a healthy pace mode. The merch.
It is. Mine said it's shipped and should be here too. And yes, I'm an addict too. I got some too. So
he did.
You're not
he
alone.
got a lot.
I did.
Reminds me to not forget the sponsorship that, kind of helps pay the bills around here. And I happen to agree with this. I will second this motion by pointing out to everybody that at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, quality is at the core of every menu item. 3 expert chefs fine-tune every detail so that every sub, burger, salad, wrap, drink, and app is crafted for craveability. Order your favorite entry at the Get-Go Cafe and Market today. Better believe it. John Starr is one of many members either re-upping or letting us know that here's your message from Dolly.
Dolly,
letting
you're
us
not slick.
Memberships that are in play here for everybody. I have a really good one here that I wanted to read.
Shout out to all the members too, DK.
Yeah, lots of them coming in today. Bob Schreiner says, DK, you said we were all suckers for falling for the Kendrick Green fullback gimmick. Well, we weren't alone. I can hear Omar Khan laughing all the way here in Austin, Texas. Now, if anybody doesn't know what Bob's referring to, it's that Green is listed as what on the transaction?
As OL fullback.
Oh, no.
Yes, he is. He's listed as a friggin' fullback, DK.
And you know what's going to happen? They are going to face the Texans, and Green is going to take 65 offensive snaps at fullback.
Yeah. Yes,
just to do this to the press box.
Yeah, no doubt.
Happening.
No doubt, man. I'm shocked. Well, I'm not shocked, but DK, I do want to revisit something. If you are just now joining us too, we had that conversation earlier this spring about them getting Isaac, about them drafting Broderick Jones, about all the acquisitions they had as far as the offensive line and the quality of it too. You had one guy, James Daniels, not miss a rep this year. Chooks only missed 1 snap. Like, everybody came back is what I'm saying, including Kevin Dotson, including Kendrick Green. And everybody was wondering, well, why do we have so many guys? Well, I said, if I'm not mistaken, DK, back then, and I know I did, they can be trade value. It can mean competition. I don't think Omar is ever going to be held at the gun again as far as guys being older and transitioning out of the league. There will forever be, in my opinion, when a guy's closer to the end or they're not getting much out of guys, a turnover or trade potential when it comes down to what they're operating like. The additions that they've made in the front office with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think they've changed their mindset on it just being an in-house situation. As many guys as they can have that they draft and create free agency out of, they will. The undrafted free agents, I mean. But if there's something better on the outside, I like the way they're operating, DK.
Black Hillbilly says, what's the wide receiver room going to look like? And Black Hillbilly, I got to tell you that the other guy we didn't mention who made the team, who came up way too often, even though we said emphatically he was making the team. We called out his name. We shouted it out in glory. We said, Gunner Olszewski is making the team. You want to know why he's making the team? because they all love him. And
do.
Kenny Pickett singled him out for praise in Latrobe. This was not an accident. This is a smart individual. And by the way, speaking of smart individuals, can I just throw this out?
Yeah, talk to me.
Everyone's asking about these two punters. Listen, you can't have it both ways. You can't assume that Omar Khan is a genius, like I'm seeing through half of this, and then think he's a complete moron to have left two punters on the 53-man roster for no reason at all, okay? There's some very explainable issue here.
It is. It really is. Presley Harvin III is on your roster, and so is Braden Mann. Me personally, I see this as he's a bargaining chip right now that couldn't get done before the trade deadline. I'm going to stand on that one. If he rides this roster all the way to the end of the season, DK, fine. This will be the first time I've ever seen this happen as far as two punts. I feel like Braden Mann is a guy to say, you know what? You don't want to give us what we want for him? We'll keep him. And because of that, we have position flexibility at other spots where we can afford to have two punters on this roster. I don't know where they found it at, DK, but the fact that you kept two punters, I've never seen this.
And again, we're going to have a casual explanation for it, and we're going to be sorry that we wasted any time talking about it. You know, I'm going to show you here what happened with Gunnar Olszewski.
Talk to me.
Who was the wide receiver that Ben loved? The possession guy.
Possession guy?
That everyone, the fans, couldn't stand.
Geez, who was it?
Like,
it
great
Juju.
dude. No. Great dude, balled out. He just kept coming back to the football. Couldn't get an inch after the catch. Someone's going to jump in here, because here's what happened.
Switz.
Yes.
Ryan Switzer. I just saw it right here. I'm going to give credit what credit's due. Nicole said it. James Lawson said it. Everybody's in on it.
Here's what's happened. This is my throwing Steelers Nation down on the psychological couch. Okay. This is what happened. Everyone hated Switz. Okay. And here comes Gunnar, and he looks like the next Switz. He looks like he's small guy, running back to the football, doesn't get any extra yards, whatever else here. And Tyler Johnson says, but I still haven't gotten over the muffed punt. Help me forgive him, DK. No, man, it's up to you. You can do what you want with him, okay? But what you do is you hate Gunnar because of Switz, because you think they're the same guy. You think it's the same type of player. See, still hates Switz. That's Adam's, but Adam also hates Gunnar as a result, and that's not fair to Gunnar at all.
It's not, man. If y'all only knew.
Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. The quarterback has one or two guys each year that becomes very friendly to them. They know they can always go to them. Switz, man, was such a great guy and still is too, man. And I know that don't matter in where you love your sports fandom at. Yeah, we're up there, DK.
Whoa.
But Switzer is a very, very good
Nobody
dude,
knows what
man.
I'm wowing about here.
Tell him,
DK says that we're 1,300 live.
1,300.
Did you know this? I'm telling the boss. Wow. She's not
shout out to y'all.
I am listening.
Ben Dykes comes in. He puts $5 in just so he can make a great joke. And I appreciate that. If you feel that good about your sense of humor that you can put $5 down behind it, Ben says the rumor is Braden Mann is going to the Bears for their 2024 second-round pick. I love it. More Bears jokes, please.
Y'all are terrible, man. You know that. Then nobody come in here asking for that, man. But if the Bears want to give up a second-round pick for him, I'll take it, DK. I promise you that, man. They have been fleeced by us pretty good.
Yeah, this is the value for the punter, Allen points out, from Maryland. It has gone up with the new rule changes. Omar has to have a trade in the works. No, he doesn't. He could just have an injury at hand, and he doesn't want to have to go scouring for a punter at the last second when he has his season opener 12 days away.
Yeah.
I really think that's the most likely thing. But again, instead of speculating, it's just we'll see in short order. Brandon says, hey, Moan, do you think there are any former players that the Steelers might bring back who were cut by other teams?
Who were cut?
See all the cut lists, have you?
Yeah, to see all the cut lists. I'll be honest with y'all. This team is just as strong as I've seen it. I'm talking about like the 11 on offense, the 11 on defense. I'll even DK go this far too. We on special teams, I don't know if we've had a dynamic kick returner in a very long time. To see Coach Tomlin be head over heels for Calvin Austin, and not even that, I'm going to go to your other guy too, DK. I'm going to go to Gunnar Olszewski in the punt return game. Both of those dudes having, hey, if you're not working this week, we got another guy. Okay? Like it's truly a solid team. Okay, let's just go through real quick, DK, who they have as first team on this roster. You good with that? We got a little time. Offense, wide receiver, Deontay Johnson. Left tackle to right tackle. Here we go. Dan Moore, Isaac, Mason Cole, James Daniels, and Chooks. Tight end. You got Pat, and behind him, you got Connor, and behind him, you got Darnell. You feel good about everybody I've said so far, DK?
So far, yes.
Finishing it out. The 3 running backs, you know who they are. Najee, Jalen, and Anthony. And again, starting fullback. They still have a list of starting fullback. Connor Hayward. And then your quarterbacks, you know who they are with Kenny. Wide receivers, Allen Robinson, Calvin, and Gunnar. Finishing up the offense with George Pickens. Where are you going to improve?
I'm stumped.
And I know I know DK. I know they're like young and they still got to prove themselves. That's the one contingency I will have when it comes down to this team. George still has more to prove. Kenny still has more to prove. If Pat Fryermuth is going to be that guy, go prove it. Do you hear me? Go prove it. Defensively, real quick, I see that one. I did not expect Devin Bush to get cut.
Why?
Or they're asking the question, did he get cut?
Well, Luke is saying it looks like Devin Bush is out in Seattle, but I haven't seen. If anybody's seen confirmation of that, say so.
So since somebody asked that question, do y'all want to have Devin Bush back in Pittsburgh? I'll wait on the responses while I go through the defense, DK. But defense starters, Cam, Hayward, Montravius Adams, Larry O, TJ Watt, Cole Holcomb over Quan. Wow.
It doesn't matter. Quan's getting on the field. All 3 of those guys, you're going to see. I'm telling you, the ILBs, there are 3 starting ILBs. You're going to have to trust me on that one.
I know. I believe you on it, but it's just the way it's listed is all right now. And maybe because Cole was in camp way before Quan showed up. I'll just leave it at that right there, man. Elandon Roberts, Alex Highsmith, Levi Wallace, Minka, DeMonte Casey, and Keanu Neal listed as co-starters, Pat P, and Shandon Sullivan. Where are you going to replace somebody or their backups at this point right now, too?
Now, you'd probably be looking for depth at corner, and I think that's what we talked about there. You want to make sure that you're solid at corner in the event of something happening here. Jen Sanders Moreno has given a gift here. We're trying to figure out that if you have the YouTube live open, we can see what 20? Wow.
My YouTube app has been crashing lately too. I got to get this figured out.
Yeah, because I don't have that particular screen up, Jen, but thank you so much. That's why I'm asking here.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what the size of the gift was. That's absolutely awesome here. Crystal says that this is all draft capital build up to trade for a corner. I kind of like that line of thinking here.
I do too. Okay. But this squad is young, but it's solid. And I appreciate how this team was built this year, man. The surprises again to me for Hoko, maybe. That's about as far as I go. And let's think about this. The 2 guys we thought were going to be cut. This is good right here. DK, is he still available?
Oh,
y'all are some sickos, okay?
Oh,
y'all are some sickos.
More Bears jokes.
The 2, that is a Bears situation too. The 2 guys that had the most value, they didn't allow to hit the free agency market. And that was Kendrick Green and Kevin Dotson. You got the most out of those 2 dudes right there. And I think that's about as fair as anybody could have had when it came down, DK, to you cutting guys that you know you weren't going to use.
We have a couple of people mentioning, including Joshua Dobbs, saying that the Steelers should take a look at Jimmy Morrissey. He's a center out of Pitt. I have a very, very strong feeling that they're doing that because he's out of Pitt. And no, but the nature of the Pitt fan base is not big, but it is very, very vocal. Like they don't have many. If they did, they wouldn't have all the yellow seats that they do on weekends. But they're around. They make themselves known.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Morrissey getting cut by who's he replacing here?
I ain't got a clue, DK. Not on this one, man. And I just got to put up a few more that they're asking for, man. This is a good one right here. Is Antoine Blake available? Y'all just throwing out any name today. This is what happened when we let them control this, DK.
Yeah, as far as Devin Bush goes, and again, we haven't seen 100% confirmation that we've had that Bush has been cut.
Yeah.
But here, T. Jordan points out here, Devin Bush suffered a neck injury on punt coverage versus the Packers. That's very different than being cut.
Yeah, he's getting an injury settlement behind.
Yeah, that's very, very different.
Or injury reserve. Yeah.
And here's hoping he does well. Nothing wrong with him as a young man.
No, he was solid, man. Absolutely would not pile on to him, man. But this is a situation where you got your figure three. My biggest surprise, I think it's fair to put this one up right here, DK. Ramon and DK from Moses. Who's your biggest surprise that made the 53 today? You want to go first?
That made the 53?
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't be surprised by this, but I guess if you throw in everything that happened with the wide receivers in camp and how well all of them performed, that you're really keeping Miles Boykin just for special teams. Now, he's good at them, but Boykin is a guy that you could have sent out the door and just said, listen, there was no room. There was no room because Allen Robinson made it through. Gunnar Olszewski made it through. Other guys that you thought might get cut from the wide receiver room didn't. Well, Boykin didn't either, to his credit.
Right. My surprise, really, I didn't know if we saw a lot or enough out of him as far as impact goes. And sometimes at this position, it's all about your technique and how sound you are. But Armon Watts, to me, I didn't know how that was going to turn out. DK. Yeah. He played a lot in that Falcons game. He did get after the quarterback in an appropriate scenario. I just didn't know if he was or wasn't going to make the team. When I saw it, I was just like, okay, well, I guess it's justified. Him and potentially, I didn't know what we were going to do with James Pierre. I just didn't.
That's a good one right there, because I still think they're looking to replace James Pierre. Ash comes in and says, DK said that Yins, meaning Pitt fans, don't show up for your team. I'm not going to turn this into a Pitt thing. And I'm not one of those people who piles on Pitt at every opportunity. It can be kind of low-hanging fruit. I'm not saying that they don't show up for their team. I'm saying that it's a small number overall. I think what shows up at the stadium is reflective of the reality. Our numbers at our website for Pitt football and Pitt basketball is kind of in its own lane. But our numbers at the website for 9 years now for Pitt football have been really, really low. It's just, that's just reality here. I wish it wasn't. I'd love to see, big time college football the way you get to enjoy down there, Moan.
Man, that's serious, DK.
The Pitt program so greatly outperforms its volume of fans that it's not even close at this point. It's become a pretty good program.
Yeah. Here's the situation, too, and I think he's already been picked up. Tyler brings this up right here. Greedy Williams was cut. Wow.
That came up, though, beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't he cut like last week, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah.
It has. He's actually with Philadelphia right now. The former second rounder out of LSU, former Cleveland Browns, who he's actually been on the streets. Well, it has him with the Philadelphia Eagles right now. I was expecting so much out of this dude, but I'll say this, too, DK. I'm a little petty, man. Cleveland's always a place where careers go die. Okay, I'm not surprised.
You're not a little petty when it comes to the Browns.
I gotta call him petty. Speaking of petty, man, let me just go there real quick. How do you say earlier in the preseason on your social media, this is why you draft a kicker?
Oh my God, I saw that 4th round pick they've wasted on a kicker,
and then they cut him.
And then they cut him, a 4th round pick.
Please.
And they boasted about it. They told on themselves.
What a backwards organization, man.
Nicole says, could Zack Gentry's injury have been more significant than we know, or do you expect him back on the practice squad? I don't know of Gentry having an injury.
Yeah,
I know that he played pretty well the other night in Atlanta, and he threw one monster block pulling over to his right. I didn't see an injured tight end in that. Maybe you know something that we don't know, Nicole.
But that's the thing, though. It's always going to be speculation in preseason because coaches choose not to give injury updates. They'll just say lower body injury. Oh, he's just getting evaluated. They don't have to give much. And I don't think, and I'm almost with James Lawson here too. I don't know if Gentry has any practice squad availability. He may, but it's going to be fascinating to see what happens with him as far as his career goes.
We're going to take a couple more today. Jonathan Hughes says, hey, Moan, what are your thoughts on keeping both slot corners, referring, of course, to Chandon Sullivan and Elijah Riley? Do you think one or the other is going to be used as a safety given the Trey Norwood cut, or maybe just primarily on special teams?
Man, depending on who you're going to play this year, and as we look through this schedule, I look through the schedule. So you got some teams that got some potential heavy hitters as far as their offense goes, as far as them wanting to throw the ball and air it out. And it wouldn't shock me if you saw either one of those guys on the field at the same time. Like, that's what's so unique about this era. We spoke a lot about the three safety. Quan Alexander position is what, DK? He plays safety linebacker. Like,
And so does Keanu Neal, who nobody ever mentions. And Neal's got a better chance of being on the field than any of these guys. I got to tell you that right now.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So to have either one of these guys on your team is a bonus. Today's game has to shut down the passing game the way certain offenses are playing. It just has to.
I wish so much that in the preseason they had faced a team that dinks and dunks and takes advantage of inside linebackers who can't cover, because I just want to know. Like, I don't want to find out on September 10.
Yeah.
I don't want to find out on September 18. I wish we could have seen that now, but unfortunately, none of these opponents did that, in large part because the Steelers' pass rush was so ridiculous. The quarterbacks didn't have a chance to throw the ball, meaning Buffalo specifically. Like, Josh Allen could have done that.
He could. And he tried to.
He tried, except that he was getting murdered out there.
He was, man. And is that a reality for us? I don't think so. Day after day, DK, week after week. But it sure is a real good sign when you see your defense do that in preseason like that. Now that we've hit the regular season, y'all, I think it's good for us all to have a nice little reset about what the expectations for this team should be.
Yeah, Rupert says, I also thought that Zack Gentry was hurt in Atlanta or practice. I was in Atlanta, and I can tell you that Mike Tomlin said after the game that there were no significant injuries. And he even said, thankfully, this, to emphasize it. Now, there's always, and I'm going to quote the head coach here directly, bumps and bruises associated with the game of football.
Yeah.
But that was not the kind of thing that would cause you to make a roster move. We have 1,338 people watching this right
yes,
now.
Sir, DK.
I mean, we're in some different bracket. Crystal Privet has a really good question here. Okay, Moan. Now, she's not asking you from personal experience because you haven't been cut, but she says, serious question. Does the team offer counseling during cut week?
No. There's somebody you can reach out to, but as far as saying, hey, this is a very traumatic situation for you, you may never play football again. No, they do not offer counseling. You go into a football camp, join a football team when it's business, and you know what's associated with it. What you do have to do, Crystal, is fight that negativity that comes along with being cut and say, I'm going to continue to go work some more. It sucks, but that's just a part of the beast of the NFL. Everybody understands that whenever they get that opportunity to go into camp. No, they do not offer it, to my understanding.
Yeah, I would. The only thing I would add to that, Crystal, is that while they're not actively offering anything like Moan is saying, and he's obviously completely right, he lived it, the team has people available for when you need them. There is a team chaplain who's is well known in our community. Okay, his name is slipping my mind at the moment here.
Kent Chevalier.
There you go.
That's my man.
Okay.
Kent Chevalier.
Kent is not respected. He is loved.
He is loved.
Okay. Now there's a difference between not everyone would want to go to a chaplain because not everyone would be as religious as the next person or whatever.
Right.
But Kent is more than that. Kent is he is as approachable as a Tunch, who's an ordained minister, the late Tunch Ilkin. And you can go and talk to them about anything, and they're not going to go throwing, religion this, religion that in your face. So there are people there. The Steelers as a whole have a support network in that the Steelers are a family.
And I want to say this too. What also happens in the preseason is coaches do make calls and vouch for guys too. They do, like, depending on what you did in camp, that's why they say your tape won't lie. Maybe it's not good enough for Pittsburgh, or maybe the room is too overcrowded, right? The room is too overcrowded in the tight end room. So guess what you do? You release a guy and you make a call to somebody. Coach Tomlin has associations where, DK, let's just randomly say Tampa. Hey, I got a guy I'm about to release down here. He may do good in your system down there. Those types of things happen when it comes down to how you continue guys' careers. Calls are made, but it's also dependent on what kind of tape you have and put out there as a pro too.
Oh, we can take a couple more. We have 1,300 people here, Mon.
We can, man. Absolutely, DK. And the likes are higher than what some people are suggesting. I think we were almost at like 500 likes on this episode.
You have to refresh to see the latest likes, which not everybody wants to do because it messes with the broadcast. Q comes in and says, shout out to Omar Khan for getting compensation for these guys that he might have otherwise released. I mean, it's good work on Omar's part. The thing that I keep mentioning about Omar is there's work going into his moves.
Yeah.
Okay. Meaning he's digging. If he's going to get a 6th round pick from somebody, he's digging. And I'm sure something like a Kendrick Green trade doesn't happen without some sort of direct contact. Hey, by the way, we have Kendrick Green here. We're aware of what your situation is here. You give us a 5th and we're good. And they say, we'll give you a 6th. He says, sold. Do you follow me?
Yes, absolutely. I got a good question right here. This is one too from Richard. Richard goes, hey, Mo,
very good.
Do players that are cut get feedback on why they are cut, things to work on? Yes, they do.
Like how, Moan? Like how? What is said?
I'll tell you this, too. Majority of those guys that ask for feedback, not all the time, will be on practice squad, too. You got to think there are 16 spots now. But they can ask the coach, what did I not do enough? And they'll tell you, well, your blocking is something that wasn't consistent. You go out there some days and be good. Some days they were bad. We didn't know what you were as a pro. I've seen these types of things happen. I've also seen guys, too, that thought they were safe as far as them being on a roster. And guess what happens? They practice lazily. They don't block properly. They have a lot of mental errors, or they just seize up. I saw a guy just coast through camp and thought he was safe. And you know what happens? He got cut. You know what also happened? He asked no questions because that guy was professional enough to know I was bull crapping in this camp. Some guys know and understand already. I've said, and you guys have heard Coach T say it at times too, don't be a dead man walking in camp. You know what that means? Don't quit on yourself. When you see that there may be more guys in the room, why are you quitting on the idea that you're stopping chasing your dream? That's unfair to everybody.
Yeah. Cut down day is a big deal in the NFL. And I'm not about to diminish it or whatever. I get that people are intensely interested in this, and I appreciate that. However, when they line up to face the 49ers on the 10th of September, at 1:02 p.m. at Acrisure Stadium, not one thing that happened today will matter. I hate to say that, okay? No. But that's the degree to which the interest in this team and really this sport exists.
Yeah.
It's absolutely astounding to me. Yeah. You know, it really is.
I got another good one. You ready? Oh, go ahead.
Luke wants to hit you with a weird one. Go ahead.
All right, then I got one right after this. Luke goes, hey, Mon, what was the weirdest pregame ritual a player did? Mweldy Moore. While we're doing the team prayer in the middle of the locker room at Acrisure was Heinz Field, he'd be in the bathroom violently throwing up. Oh, we're saying the Lord's Prayer, and all we hear is Mweldy just coughing up a lung, man. I was just like, and would do it religiously.
So to speak.
Yeah, I've
no
heard
pun intended there.
No pun intended. I've heard of guys, it wasn't a ritual, but this was an actual teammate just peeing down their leg, literally.
That's maybe it was an exorcism of sorts. He's hearing the Lord's prayer, and he's exorcising the devil out of his system before he takes the field. Josh Jenkins comes in with a $5 contribution and says, "What's the day-to-day life like with a practice squad guy? You don't see that covered much in series like Hard Knocks or etc."
It's honestly just like a pro.
It's
like,
no different. That's all I was going to say. Yeah, game day is different. That's it.
That's it. And some teams actually have the practice squad travel with them and still work out as a team too. Only difference is the practice squad guys and also guys who are not starters have to be scout team. Scout team and guys who do not start live the exact same life as far as inside the building. You work out, you service the starters, and then you get the perks of being a pro. That's what you get right there, DK. It's not much of a difference, though, during the season.
Guys, we can't thank you enough for being on here. We hung on extra to give you more because we're still at 1,300 viewers. Go ahead, Moan.
I got that one, and it's real good, DK. Shout out to you too, Joshua. And this is the one I was expecting today. You may not be ready for it, but let's prematurely answer this one, DK. Jeffrey goes, "Hey, Moan, Dan Moore starts the season at left tackle. Do you think Broderick Jones plays his way into a starting lineup ahead of Moore before the season is over?"
That requires a yes or a no, Mr. Foster. Putting you on the spot.
Oh, you putting me on the spot?
I'm not letting you off the hook here because Jeff's not here to do it.
No.
Okay. Then do you think?
No.
I'm kind of surprised here.
Uh-uh.
You think a first-round pick is going to sit on the sideline, 14th overall?
You know what I see with Broderick Jones, and I'm willing to stand on this one for this reason. One, You've seen a different person, barring injury. You said beat him out. That's what we're sticking with. Does he beat him out? The answer is no. For this reason, what has Dan Moore done to warrant him not being a starter? You have nothing to lose if he plays well, right? Nothing to lose. And this is also where I stand. I don't see Broderick Jones from what I saw from him in preseason, him being ready for what this schedule is this year either. Those rushers in week 1 and week 2 and week 3, he hasn't experienced this. And yes, you can say, well, man, he's got to learn sometime. Guess what? Not this year. Not while Kenny is comfortable in the pocket with Dan Moore as his left tackle. No, I don't see. I see him being the heavy package offensive lineman coming in.
I will say this. I believe that Broderick Jones is going to start this season. I also believe that there is a chance that Dan Moore could start at right tackle this season. I said right tackle.
Wow.
Okay, so as long as we're dropping bombs here, we're getting a lot of I'm on team Dan Moore here, okay?
Oh.
I'm a fan of Dan. Great camp, Dan Moore. But guess what? Dan Moore was out there at right tackle in Atlanta in the final preseason game. And although this got surprisingly little attention, Matt Canada said on Sunday he referred to having 3 guys battling for positions between the 2 tackle spots. That's not from me. That's not a rumor. That's from the paid offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So no, Woods, it's not a hot take. It comes right from the coordinator's mouth. They saw this. The Steelers saw this, according to the coordinator, as a 3-man competition.
Wow.
How do we wait this long into an hour-long show?
Come on, DK.
Dropping all the bombs here. But
wow.
Right tackle is not, I've been saying this all along. I know we both love Chooks. Okay?
Yeah, we
got to call it for what it is.
We do.
When you talk about the strengths of this offensive line, you are still talking about the interior.
That's very true.
Okay?
That's very true.
And if Dan Moore can continue getting practice reps, whatever else, even just once,
at right tackle,
they have never stopped. It's never stopped. Tyler says Chooks ain't leaving. I'm not talking about him leaving.
He ain't got to. He's under contract.
No, he's under contract. But you know what? He's got another year under contract in 2024. Was it 8 million and change?
8 million and change. I can look it up.
It doesn't matter because you know who's getting paid a whole lot less in 2024?
Who's that?
Dan Moore.
Dan
you know
Moore
who else is getting paid a lot less? Roderick Jones.
Roderick Jones.
Let's not pretend this isn't a business.
Chooks' contract base salary for this year is 6. Next year's base salary is 4.7.
Base salary. Cap hit?
Cap
8.
hit. Cap hit. Yeah. No, well, according to this, Spot Track is always wrong. So it's got it at 11. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, here, it's according to Coin, next year the cap hit is 13. I mean, not keeping him.
13.
Dead cap. Not keeping him. You're not doing it.
Dead cap is 3 this year. Next year.
I'm just saying.
So that makes it easy for him. You save 8 million. So you were saying you save 8 million.
Save 10.
10.
Yeah. Bye. Just saying.
You just blew my mind. I know I saw Dan Moore in the game late, like in the second quarter at the right tackle. I saw this. Tackle.
Oh, second quarter, my rear end. It wasn't second quarter. It was the first offensive series that wasn't the first team.
Yeah.
Roderick Jones came on the field. This is when Mitch Trubisky came out. Roderick Jones came out at left tackle. Dan Moore came out at right tackle. Why do you think they wanted that on film?
So is he a trade after this year?
Apparently there's a trade market for it. Yeah.
Wowzers, D. You waited this late.
Yep. Guys, we never crossed over an hour before. We got 1,300 here, but we're going to have to say goodbye.
We are. We got to roll, good people. Wow, what a bomb at the end of that one, DK. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Hey, if you're new to this show, which very, very good chance that you might be given this crazy number that we had, we're here every day at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. We're friendly for the most part. We don't bite. We don't really get into mean things unless it's related to the Browns, and that's just because it's just human nature. And we really like having the community that we do. We take a lot of pride in that.
No doubt, man. We will you guys run the show with the Hey Moan segment right there. Today was just a super busy day that we were is roster reaction is what we'll call that one, right, DK? But yeah, you can ask us all the questions you want. Most of the times we'll have an answer for you, but what we will not do is create theatrics behind trying to keep you as a subscriber too. We're going to tell it exactly how it is, and it's just going to be a good time too.
It's as simple as keeping everything real. It really is. Well, it really is.
No doubt, man.
So, all right, guys. Let's do it again tomorrow. We will be here tomorrow.
And again, this roster is forever fluid. You never know who's going to get signed, traded, or cut.
Yeah, or how many punters they'll have. Dude, what was that? How did we get 1,300 people in here?
Yeah, I mean, because they like the show, I guess. DK, word is out, and it's roster time. Yeah, we're still live.
She said here, what? Say it again. I had my headphones on. Huh?
Come again.
Just answer. I'm on live. Answer.
Come again.
Oh, she said something about the actual total number of people who passed through was more than 3,000.
Wow, way to go. Yes, Culkin. Dental hygiene is huge. I keep a flacker on me at all times.
She wouldn't answer my question, so it came in the form of a text, even though she's sitting right across from me. Hang on a second. Concurrent viewers. Views 3,024.
There we go.
That's y'all. I don't know what to say. I didn't see this coming. It's really, really cool that it did. What's so funny, though, is we lost 300 people like instantly as soon as we did the thing, because that means they thought it was actually over.
They thought it was over.
You guys know. You guys are still here. Know that
we
it's still
always
going on.
do posts. We always do a post. We're like Marvel with this show, right, DK? There's always some surprise on the end.
Yeah, that's right. I'm seeing Ash is saying thanks for staying over. You know, there's little perks to being a member.
Special day. Shout out to you guys, man. Again, can't say that enough. The OGs are in here. You're right. You're 100% correct. The OGs are in here. You guys knew to stay after.
Yeah, who's Desmond King?
Desmond King, cornerback, if I'm not mistaken. I covered him here in Nashville when he was signed here.
Oh, you
Desmond
did?
King. Yeah, he's a role player, can play, not bad.
Let's see what we can find here on Desmond King before we sign off for the day.
Before we signed off. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not seeing any evidence of this.
Maybe somebody who agent has put something out. Former Houston Texan, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, played here in Tennessee. Made some plays. Kind of remind me a little bit of Mike Hilton-esque is kind of what I get from him. Real go hard type guy. Will play you close. Physical. Was with the Texans last. If he's still there. We'll see though, DK.
One of the punters apparently is going to get traded.
Yeah.
Or released or whatever else. Like, it's not going to be Presley Harvin. Presley Harvin is the punter. I just wanted to throw that in there since that came up early in the show here. I'm not seeing anything about that.
I've seen his name float in the chat a little bit. I didn't want a false report on the DK, but if he's a guy I'm familiar with, if he is signed, so I can give you a breakdown on him a little bit tomorrow if that's the case.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for being with us, especially you 1,000 who knew that we would continue after the dun, dun.
Yeah. Tyler asked the question, was I mid-game flosser? No, I never did anything other than be ready for the game plan for the second half. Yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah, don't forget, guys, that you can get I'm typing it here on the screen here. It's Ramon Shop. Get this merch that's there. It has been quite a hit, to say the least. Here, I'll put it up on the screen here. There it is.
And I can't wait to put mine on. It's saying it's being delivered soon. So I'm looking forward to it. And
all
yes,
right,
I did get the orange one.
Let's do it again tomorrow. All right, guys.
All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow, man. For real this time. We're out this time. You're gonna end the broadcast.